as a writer or
Oh no, oh no, I was the shift
Yeah,
supervisor for
we
the
do too.
electrical maintenance in the production.
oh, how cool!
Yes.
Well, that had to be an interesting
Right. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I really did. I was there for 30 years, and I enjoyed every minute of it. But like I said, when they offered to
Yeah.
pay me more than to stay away than I could make if I stayed there, I told them I didn't have to have my arm twisted. I could stay home, so I did.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
I
Right.
was.
I don't
I've
know.
been doing
Curiosity.
network marketing every time, ever since full time, I guess.
When you say you've done network marketing, how many years have you actually
Well,
done network marketing?
I've actually
I know you
been
said you're familiar with Amway and some of those other things.
I've been involved with network marketing a little over 40 years.
Oh wow!
So I was involved with it
Yeah.
before there was an internet. I actually I had a oh, can't even think of what they called it, but I had a system where people could call in on the phone and dial into a computer system that I had set up with a bunch of hard drives and stuff, and they could upload and download software, and they could uh, upload and download, messages and traffic and stuff like
Me
that.
too.
And it,
There's
Wow!
I
always that
ran that
first
for
time.
a few years, and then there was a system came into being called FidoNet, which worked very similar to the internet, except of course it wasn't near as big. It was worldwide, so I converted my system over into the
Right.
FidoNet
You can
system,
because I've done
and
it.
ran that for a couple of years, and then the
And if I
internet
can do it, anyone can.
was born, and
And Fido went bye bye.
FidoNet went bye bye, and
Yeah,
so I've been working via the internet ever since, and that has been a major struggle at first because everybody in the world was scared to death of the
Yeah.
internet, and if they heard that you was part of the internet, first thing they
Yeah.
did was they wanted to do everything they could to shut you down. So
how
it was a
uh,
real challenge there at first, but we overcame all the challenges
Yep.
and legal problems and everything else, and we have been
Uh-uh.
involved with network marketing via the internet
Right.
ever since. And I enjoy it. I thoroughly
yeah,
do.
Yeah.
it's exciting when something comes along
We go
new,
to that doctor
like
on
the
Monday.
internet, and what probably 5 years at least.
Mm. It took a while.
People were people were
Yeah.
totally scared of it,
You just
and
can't believe you said
Well,
internet, and
he'll
now
find a reason.
practically
they
if
were
you don't
scared.
have if you're yeah nowadays if you're not on the internet
You're just
you're
not.
out of business.
You're
You're
right.
out of
Right.
business.
It even brick and mortar businesses and things like that. If they're not involved with the internet, if they don't have website presence out there for people to look them up and order and do things like that, then their
Yeah.
their business is going to suffer. It'll suffer greatly because
Yeah,
so many people want to go look at the internet and see what the business is all about before they go shop with them. I
Right.
actually in the in the time when everybody was scared to death of the internet and everything, I opened a brick and mortar business. It was a warehouse
Yes,
where
it
I bought
does.
overproduction merchandise, shelf pulls, last year's merchandise, and stuff like that, and warehoused
Yeah.
it there, and then where people could actually come in and shop, look around, pick out what they wanted, and shop and buy this
Yeah.
merchandise. And I also got involved with selling it over the internet, of course, and I got involved with eBay, and we
Alright.
did quite a big business with eBay there for a while. Let me see who else has joined us. This is Mike in Georgia. Please tell us who you are and where you're calling from.
Yeah.
Hi, Mike. It's Sandy from North Carolina.
Well, good evening, Sandy. We're glad to hear you in here. You're early in here
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah, for a change.
I was just telling Robert about some of my earlier adventures with the internet.
Yeah.
Robert, we got involved with eBay about that time, and like I said, that turned into be it went from a kitchen table to a 4,000 square foot warehouse, and
Oh,
I was actually I was doing really good until I got sick. I had a heart attack and some congestive heart failure, and I got sick, and I couldn't do a lot of it.
goodness.
My middle daughter, who was very good at managing and running things like that, and she tried to run it for a while, but she had a baby and she had some complications, and she couldn't be in there, and my wife couldn't take the heat in the warehouse, so
Yeah, I went to the hospital every
yeah,
weekend.
she went to the hospital with it over at one time, and
Alright, well, let me get going. He's on
it
the
just
call, so I need to
I don't know.
quiet.
It got to be such a situation that
Alright, talk to you later.
we shut that down. We sold it
Okay.
out and shut it down.
Alright.
And
Love you. Bye-bye.
I went strictly with network marketing over the internet, and been there ever since. So.
Yeah, I occasionally do eBay only because I like garage sales.
It's not eBay is not what it used to be anymore. Back when we
Oh,
got
no,
into
it's
it,
not.
you could go dig in your closet and pull out some junk and put it out there and sell it and make a decent profit on it, or you could buy it, go on eBay and do a little search. You figure out what people liked and wanted, and you could go out
we
and
bought
buy it and,
name brand clothes and sold it.
and turn it around and market it and make a little profit on it, and it was good. We actually was going to secondhand clothing stores and places like that, and we was looking for name brand. We would look for name brand clothing. We would find, and what we'd find, we would purchase at a really good rate usually, and turn around and sell it back on eBay and at a really good profit. And then we started buying out stores that were closing up. We'd buy out the merchandise and stuff like that. Then we started buying Amway, and believe it or not, Amway returned merchandise that people had returned to Amway, and you'd be surprised how much of that there is. And we made
Wow.
a really good profit with that. So we was actually doing really good until, like I said, we run into some health problems that kind of put a big burden on us doing that. And we, like I said, we sold out, shut down, and we went strictly to the internet now. And we've been here. Oh shucks, I don't even know when that was. That was back in 2001, 2002, or something like
Yeah,
that.
because Emily was born in 2001.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's right. Then my granddaughter was born right about the time we shut it down. Now she was born in 2001. So ever since then, I've been on the internet with one program or another, and some of them have worked out really well, and some of them have worked out really bad. I've got involved with some people that they're gurus, for lack of a better word, and they had the magic pill that was going to make everybody super rich, and I bought into a few of those
Yeah.
programs, and I lost some money in a few of those programs, and I got involved in a few programs that really were good, but they didn't make all the money that the gurus were promising, but they do turn a profit, so that's what's important.
Yeah.
We talked about that the other night. If 35 cents was a profit, it was still a profit, So
And I
we're still
about
in here,
40
and
no.
we've been working since 2008. We've been working trying to help other people and see if we can guide them in the right direction, and keep them from making some of the mistakes we made, keeping them from learning some of the lessons the hard way, the way we learned them.
Yeah,
like
I was
said,
in a
we really
program
enjoy it.
about,
We've met people all over
four-
the world. We've made
about
friends
4
all
years
over the
ago.
world, and we've enjoyed that as well. So that's my life story. I'm sticking to it.
I like it. I like it. Can you hear me all right?
Did I run everybody off?
Yep.
Can you hear me all right?
Mike, can you hear Robert?
No, I see the thing moving like somebody's talking there, but
He's been talking
Here.
for a couple of minutes now.
I don't hear them.
How weird.
Let's see what I can find here.
I'm talking up a storm. Nobody listening.
Oh,
I heard you.
I don't know how it happened, but my switch on my microphone turned my volume off. So I could not hear anyone.
How can you hear me now?
Oh, I hear you fine now.
Oh, okay.
I turned the volume back
I was
up.
gonna. I was gonna tell you that I think it was 4 years ago. There was a company that I got involved with, and it's really upsetting because I got up to where I pulled out about $2,000, and I did really well, and I thought I was on my way.
On your way.
And I'll be a son of a gun if the government of the United States of America didn't come in and shut them down.
Uh-huh.
Was that Zeke?
Huh?
Was that Zeke?
Was that Zeke?
Zeke, yeah.
Don't-
Zeke rewards.
Don't feel like a Lone Ranger.
We all got burned.
We all got burned on that one.
Yeah. Well, I actually got out with $2,000
Well,
because I was building it up.
You were lucky because I was building mine and I left it all in and hadn't pulled it out. So I wish I had.
Well, I still had over 1,000 in there that I lost, but I guess the timing was right. I went in, I requested it, I got it, and I think it was 30 days or 45 days later is when they shut them down. And I said, "Oh my God, how lucky I was!"
You were lucky. You were lucky.
Yes, I was.
Or either smart enough and timed it right.
Timed it right. I don't know about the smart part.
Sandy, you
I
started
was
saying
building
something.
mine up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was building mine up like you, Mike. I had a couple of thousand in there too. Didn't pull it out. I was building it up. I wish I'd taken it out.
Yeah.
I think I learned that from playing the stock market. A person who taught me how to run the stock market used to always tell me, you set a goal like say 2,000. Says you always take some out. Don't worry about taking a little bit of profit and leave this there to build some more. But don't let it just sit there and ride, because if you go to the stock market, you'll buy a game and say, what happened?
Yeah.
A million years is what I would have dreamed, but I stepped in and shut. I even donated, what was it, $25 to get the attorneys to try to fight it.
I did that. I did that too. That was a farce. So.
Yeah, but what the hell? I was still ahead. I just thought maybe we could fight it. If they did win, it would come back, but nope, it didn't. But that's okay. Win some, lose some. That's what it's all about.
I'll tell you how I got introduced into network marketing. It's a long
Oh, that
story.
ought to be interesting.
This was even before Amway. There was I can't even remember the name of the company anymore. I try to forget things like that. But I was looking for a way to make some extra part-time money, and saw the ad in the newspaper, and the fellow said that he was, he had a program, and he was looking for some people, and left a number to call. There was no internet back then. So I picked the phone up and I called the number and talked to him, and he said that he'd like to show me what his program was all about, and he was going to be doing a meeting in his house with a few friends and invited me to come join him. And so I did. And I sat there through the meeting. He had a whiteboard up, just like the old Amway days, you know. He had a whiteboard set up, and he sat there and he stumbled around trying to explain his program. This program he called MLM, multi-level marketing. And he explained how
Yep.
it works and everything, and I'm smart enough I could put the numbers together in my head and figure out what it was all about. But he did probably the worst presentation of anybody I've ever heard. And the product they were selling was home computers. And you got to understand, this was a long time ago. It was back,
Yeah.
I mean, a long time ago. And while I had worked previously for NASA and I understood computers, but computers were a great big old huge room full of computers, computer stuff. And that made one little bit of what would be today a little bitty teeny handheld computer. But I understood computers, and I could see that there would be a, you know, some kind of future for them.
Uh-huh.
And so I actually knew that I could do 100% better job at presenting that program than he could. And he was just really bad, but he was sponsoring people. People were coming into his organization, and I signed up with him, and I bought a room full of home computers. They were, if you remember, you might remember, Robert. They were called the Commodore PET and the Commodore C64 computers. And of course, you know, the computer itself just looked like a keyboard, and you had to plug in. They didn't have hard disk drive at that time. They did have a little cassette recorder that you could record data on and store it and reload it. And they didn't have any real programs for you to run on these computers. But they did have a book that explained how to write software in BASIC. And it didn't take me long. I read and I figured that out. And I wrote few pieces of software, and few little games and things like that. And I did have one customer that he wanted to, he needed what is the equivalent to Microsoft Office. He needed it to do all those sort of things, and I got the books out and I studied and everything, and I learned how to do that. And I started doing home meetings of my own, inviting people, and we started growing a pretty good growing business. And I come home one day and a letter in the mailbox, and it said it was from the company that we were all working through or for or whatever, and they said they're no longer in business. And guess what? I was no longer in business either.
And they owed us money.
And yeah, they owed us a little money, and I had quite a few people over, you know, several states that were all in my organization, and I had to explain to all of them that they weren't in business anymore. And I learned real quick one thing you never do is you never put all your eggs in one basket, because you know, if you're like me, you're likely to drop the basket. But I also learned to do a lot of research and look into company and people behind the company and everything else before I jumped into anything else. And that research paid off for me some. Some of it lied to me, and it didn't pay off for me. But anyway, that's where I got started. The next thing was Amway came along, and I had some friends at church that were wanting me to come to a meeting. I knew what meeting all meant and what it was all about, and I told them I didn't think I was interested in coming to their meeting. And they pestered me and my wife both for a couple years, and then one of our real good friends just so happens they were in Amway.
No,
Yeah.
we got Mike and Martha in it.
No, I ain't talking about Mike and
Oh,
Martha.
okay.
I'm talking about Bill and Ava Wheat.
Oh, yeah.
And Amway had just started selling a water filter, and I was kind of interested in that, and Ava decided, he asked if she could just come over and show me a water filter, and I told her yes, and me and my
Hey.
wife sat there. And
Okay, well, I'll go out and fix it. As soon as I get done. Okay? All right. Love you. See ya.
my wife and I sat there and listened to Ava, who was a good friend of ours, and she presented the water filter and demonstrated and showed what it was all about and everything, and it looked like something that we really could benefit from having. And I said, well, how much does this water filter cost? Because she had never said the word Amway to me. She just said water filter, and she had never invited me to a meeting or anything like that. She just wanted to show me the water filter, and she did. And I asked how much was it, and she asked me the best closing question I probably ever heard. She said, well, do you want to pay wholesale or do you want to pay retail? I've been in business long enough, I knew if I could buy it wholesale, I could probably buy it cheaper, so I said, well, I want to buy wholesale. Make a long story short from there, I found myself in the next few days, I was in the great Amway business, of which I was in for, probably 15 years. And that's
And pots, too.
and that's another story. So I got several good Amway stories. Let me find out who else has joined us here. This is Mike in Georgia. Please tell us who you are and where you're calling from.
And David Mincy from Melbourne, Florida.
And David Mincy from Melbourne, Florida. Well, good evening, David. We're glad to hear you back in here. This is 2 nights in a week, isn't it?
Yep.
That's amazing, and we really appreciate you being in here. What have you got to share with us tonight?
Not much. Just working on turbos today.
Working on turbos, huh? All right. Seemed like you was doing that the other night too.
Yeah, it's a major job. They're welded. They're welded to the collars where the bands are,
Mm-hmm.
and it's real hard to get them loose.
But you could figure it out and do it, right?
Yeah, I got a torch after it today. So.
That sounds like a solution.
He still didn't get it broke loose yet, so I sprayed it with PB Blast so it can soak overnight.
Well, that
I had
might
a
help.
bolt that I couldn't get out. I broke a tool trying to get it out. Took the tool back to Sears, got me a new tool. Came back, let it soak for a couple of days in PV Blast. Turned the bolt out and twisted a grade 8 bolt.
No.
But it's not. It didn't break off though.
Well, that was good.
Yeah, I was happy. I was ready to throw a party because I got that bolt out of there.
Well, Mr. David, we have Robert Franks in here with us tonight. And we have Sandy in here with us tonight. And I'm not sure where Reverend Dave is, but I haven't heard from him today, so he doesn't seem to be with us tonight.
Now, who'd you say was there? You broke up.
We have Robert Franks from out in, it's Nevada, Arizona's, what?
Nevada.
Nevada. I knew I'd figure it out here in a minute.
Where everything's legal, he said.
Where everything's
That's
legal.
right.
And we have Miss Sandy from North Carolina. Great.
Hi, David.
Hi, Sandy. Good to hear your voice.
Good to be here.
Glad you got to see me. Oh. I'm sitting at a storage place, waiting on my daughter to get here so I can move her furniture.
Well, that sounds like
Oh.
fun.
God bless you. Oh. Where are you moving to?
I don't know, I'm moving her. I ain't moving anywhere.
No, I
Right
said, where are
now.
you moving it to?
I don't know. Somewhere in town here.
Wherever she tells you
I'll
to,
just be
huh?
glad to get all her stuff out of my house.
Oh, I know that story. I know. We've had that situation on a couple of times here. The kids decided it would be better if they moved back, and a little while later they decided to move out. But we don't really have room for all that, and they leave everything.
Yeah.
Excuse me there.
Yeah, I've got my mother's stuff. She died in 2012. I've got my oldest adopted daughter that passed away a year and 3 months ago.
Has it been that long?
And I got all her stuff in the house. Got some of my son's stuff. I'm ready to get rid of all that stuff.
I understand. I think we probably still got some of my son's stuff up in the attic.
We do.
He
His toys.
he moved out of the house, and oh shucks, I don't even know. It's been 20 years ago.
Oh.
And he doesn't even live in the country. He lives in Europe. So, come think of it, he's coming back.
Bobby
and
said on Facebook that he's going to be coming home.
He's coming home. You know, he's actually got engaged. He's getting married. He's not getting married until
Wow.
October, but he's bringing his fiancee home so that we can. Well, I don't know if meet her is the right word, because we've actually met her by way of Skype video.
Mm.
But she's a real nice young lady. But he's bringing her home, and they're gonna have the wedding in Charlotte. In fact, and they're coming home to get all the details and everything settled. And so
Wow.
they decided they would come down here and visit us for a day. Let her introduce her to some of the family down here. We're excited about that. We're excited anytime he comes home, but of course via Skype we talk to him just about all the time. So. But he was in the Air Force, and they shipped him over there to England, and he stayed in the Air Force for a while, and then he retired from the Air Force and took on another job, and right there doing the same thing he was doing for the Air Force, in the same place and in the same desk and all that good stuff. So he decided that was a good deal. So he retired from them and started working for another company. And a few years later, that company lost his contract, so he went with another company, and he's still right there in the same place doing the same job. And, he travels all over the world, and he works with kids. Not part of his job. It's just through the church. He works with kids in an organization called Club Beyond, and he takes them on trips all over Europe, and they go and build playgrounds and things like that for churches and help other building projects for different churches all over Europe there. And in the process of doing that, he met this young lady, and she actually lives in Germany. He lives in England. But he travels back and forth to Germany just about every weekend when he gets a chance. So.
He'll be there for Mother's Day.
Yeah, he's going to be there for Mother's Day. But anyway, we do understand because we still got a lot of stuff that he had when he was in high school. You know, he graduated from high school. He went straight into the Air Force, and he hadn't been home since, or hadn't lived at home since. So.
But his stuff is still there.
Yeah, oh yeah, his stuff is still here.
In the attic.
In the attic.
And his baby writing voice too.
Yeah. Even he's got some
Wooden-
wooden riding toys for infants. Infants wooden riding toys that his I don't know, his grandfather made for him back when he was an infant, and that's up in the attic too. So.
Oh.
But we're excited for him. We're excited about him getting married. He's only 39 years old, so it's about time.
Neat.
But he thoroughly enjoys taking little kids on them trips all over the world there, and he enjoys working with them and doing that sort of thing. He enjoys the work he does. He works through a contractor. He works for the federal government, our federal government. I won't tell you what he does because he might not want me to actually, but I will tell you he's one of 3 people in the world that does what he does. So.
My goodness.
He's quite happy with that occupation. So. Anyway, I've been rambling on about my life all night. Who else has got something going on here that we need to talk about? Any good questions about the business? Or? You're grown, David. Do you have one of your fantastic questions we can answer?
That's how I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think.
Oh.
I can't
Well,
think
let
of
me
anything.
pass it on around. Robert, have you got anything we need to discuss tonight or talk about, or anything we can?
Well, nothing that I can think of right off the top of my head.
Wow.
I mean, other than the fact that, I keep busy and
Yeah, I will say that. I will say this. I need to make $1 million a month.
Amen.
Do you have a time frame that you're looking to make that with?
Yeah, whenever. That's my
Whenever.
goal.
Yeah.
whenever doesn't work.
I don't think that
So I
we
might
can fit
be
that into
100.
a plan.
I might be 100 before I make a. No, I'm just kidding.
Just out of curiosity, since you brought up the fact that you want earn $1 million, and I'm one, probably like Mike. I love playing with numbers. Does anybody have any idea how much money you would have to earn a day to be able to make $1 million a year?
Well, I know $5 a day. It takes 30 years to make $1 million. So, let's see. Yeah, that's a pretty good bit.
Yeah, you'd have to make close to $3,000 a day
How about
in order to make
$1
million a year.
how about $2,739.73?
Now that man is exact.
Yeah, he's got a calculator on the bottom bar on his computer.
Told you I like playing with numbers.
Because the second question that always comes to my mind, and I know I mentioned it, was talking about it the last time, was how many of us, just out of curiosity, how many of us could spend $3,000 a day?
Oh,
I don't. Who wants to spend it? I want to turn it over.
it depends on your definition of spending, but
That's right.
I'm pretty sure that I could probably get it done. That much. That's actually not a lot of money.
No, it's not.
It sounds like when you put it in to $1 million, that sounds like a lot of money. But when you talk about $3,000 a day, that can be done. That can be done. I'll be as honest as I can be with you. I don't make $3,000 a day, but it can be done. And if you have the right plan and the right team, you can do it.
You can do it.
What would the taxes be on that?
Oh,
Well, you'd have to do something so that you keep the taxes at about 15%.
I would have to recommend if somebody was at that kind of income level that they join Four Corners so they can purchase the financial education training series of books, because that answer could be in there. Not necessarily how much taxes you'd have to pay on there, but how you could legally get around paying as much of those taxes as possible. I'm not against paying taxes, by the way. I'm absolutely not against taxes. I just feel like that there's a certain amount that is needed to keep our society going, and they don't need any more than that. So I do want to see if I can do my part to make sure that I limit my input to that total to what it should be, and not what somebody else wants it to be.
Well, see, I guess I'm old-fashioned. I don't believe I should pay the government anything.
Well,
But I'll tell you what, if you were in $1 million bracket or higher, you could get by without paying taxes at all, ever. Because the one thing that I had a friend of mine tell me once is that if you do it right, you can support the things that you want to support and not what the government wants to support. And if you've got a good bookkeeper, he can tell you exactly how to do that. And of course, basically all it is instead of donating it to the government, you just donate it
you
to some
donate someone else.
organization. Yeah, to some organization that you believe in. And that way, if you don't want to support a war, you don't have to. But if you want to support the children at a hospital, you can do that. And it's all a write-off, and what you end up with when you're all done is you don't pay no taxes. But you got to have a good bookkeeper in order to do that, because I'm not in the tax field, but I just know it can be done.
This is true. I'm not going to get into politics involved. That's why so many of our lower income people are claiming that the people that have the upper income levels are not paying their share. And I do have some theories and things that I will not bore y'all with, tonight, but I do have some theories of way that things could be equaled out so that everybody pays their fair share. Not necessarily pays the same thing, but their fair share. But that's borderlining on politics, and I'd just soon stay away from politics.
Well, my husband, a million years ago, Bob was a banker.
Yeah.
And a million years ago, he said the IRS should be abolished and everybody should pay sales tax on what they buy. And for a long time, working in New York City, that would have been probably in the late 50s, early 60s, we paid a luxury tax. Like if I bought a leather handbag,
Oh, yeah.
I paid a luxury
I'm
tax.
familiar with
On
local
that.
taxes, yeah.
I don't think they do that anymore. But, I mean, that way everybody pays for what they buy. If you can afford to buy it, you can afford to pay the tax on it.
You know, there are
I mean, it makes sense to me, and it still makes sense to me.
there are other countries around the world that don't have income tax, but they do have a what they call value added tax.
Yeah.
And what that amounts to is everything you purchase is taxed. But
Yeah.
you know, when you go in and they say, well, the price of it's $1, that is the price because value added tax has already been added to the price tag when the price was figured. So,
Mhm.
you know, that's what you plunk down $1 and that's what you pay. But that's where the income comes from operating the government, and
Yeah.
there are a few countries around the world that operate like that do quite well. They actually they don't have as much money as the United States does to play with because
Well,
the
we
United States does it differently. You know, they just go in and take what they want.
Well, the only reason the United States has all the money to play with is because all we do is print it, which if we did, we'd get thrown in jail because that's illegal. But I agree with you when you say, I figured it out one time, especially with business, big business, $1 million businesses. If you have $1 million and if you had a flat 10% tax, that business will pay $100,000. And if you made the law so that they couldn't, because big businesses are the ones that get all the tax write-offs.
Yep.
So if you had a straight tax, they'd pay that $100,000 because it wouldn't make any difference. Everybody pays the same, period. Whether you're in business, out of business. If you want a $1 million home, you're going to pay a $100,000 tax. If you want to go out and buy a $10 coat, you're going to pay $1 tax, and everybody pays the same. So I agree with that. Now, getting our government to do it, that's a whole different story. And like Mike, I don't want to get into politics, but I think there is a right way and a wrong way to do it, but they won't do it.
There's a few little flaws in your theory there, but your theory sounds really, really good. I have always been a proponent of that. Not an opponent, but a proponent. But there are in the way you describe it, there is a few flaws, but we're not going to get into that either. So, sometime, just me and you on the phone, we'll be glad to go into my idea, my theories, and then all you have to do is vote for me for president.
I'll do it.
I got a question for Robert.
Go ahead.
Yes.
You said everything was legal in Nevada. How come you can't print money there?
Well, you can, but just don't get caught.
You can, and it's perfectly legal as long as you're part of the federal government.
Yeah.
Well, I like to think that, when I first got to Nevada and they have these brothels, and at the time, I really didn't know what a brothel was. I mean, I didn't know that particular word phraseology.
Right.
I mean, I knew what a whorehouse was, but I didn't know what a brothel was. And that must have been several months till one day I was talking to somebody and I realized what he was talking about. And I says, "That's legal in the state?" "Oh, yeah, man." I said, "Well, that's trippy." And so then when, talking politics, most people who are in politics, if you're in politics, if it's not legal, you can make it legal because all you got to do is pass the bill. And the other one is if you want to change it, you got to be part of it. And most of us don't want to be part of it. But if you want to change it, then you got to be part of it. But in the last, I don't know, last 25 years, I can't remember the man's name. There was somebody in Colorado. I know he is from Colorado, who, got in the Senate or the House, I don't know which. He got a 4-year term. And after the 4 years, all his constituents wanted to know if he was going to run again. And he flat said, nope, I'm not going to run again. And they asked him, why? He says, because it's politics. Once you get into office, you realize that if you don't play the game, you're not going to get a thing. Because there's just too many ways. You got to pat somebody on the back if you want to get patted on the back. But if you don't want to pat anybody on the back and you want to set it straight, you want to have the rules set straight, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to dislike you, and then you can push bill after bill after bill after bill, and they're all going to turn their nose up. And he said after 4 years, he said, I can't win. There's not a thing I can do. The power is too great to try to change it. Now that's sad.
If he was part of the federal government, if he was elected to a federal office, and he got out and started to back some of these programs that seem popular that are doomed to fail, and he backed enough of them, and people realized that he was a loser and backing a loser. All he would have to do is run for a second term and be defeated, and then he would earn a retirement which equal to his paycheck for the rest of his life.
Oh yeah.
And then you sit back and look and see who was really the loser and who won.
Yeah, and it's like all the past presidents. I don't know how many people realize it, but once you become president, I don't know how far the hierarchy goes up, but once you reach a certain point in that hierarchy, you have your security, you have your FBI agents, you have all these people. Could be anywhere from 20, could be as high as 100. And when you're out of office, they go with you.
Mm-hmm.
And the taxpayer pays for that as long as they live, because they have to be protected. It's just common sense, but just think of the amount of money we spend to protect people that are not even in office anymore. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Of course, I think the most mind-boggling.
We sent them up there to vote for that, so
Oh yeah.
they voted that benefit
But I think
in
some
themselves.
of the most mind-boggling things that I ever realized about government is grants. The only problem with a grant, it takes such a long time. You got to jump through all the loops in order to get the grant.
Yep.
But when you start going through the list of grants that you can get, some of them are so unbelievably stupid. You would think to yourself and wonder how that ever got into our system. But if you get a grant, you hear the one about the guy who got $1 million to study the sexual activities of a flea. What do I need to know the sexual activities of a flea for? But he got the $1 million. It's crazy.
You're right. We are venturing off a little bit into politics here.
Yeah, I didn't mean to do
No,
that.
I know you didn't, and it is a very interesting subject. One I do like to discuss with people. I'm just not sure everybody that might listen to this call would really want to know about politics. So, but anyway, does anybody have anything else we need to discuss tonight? We know what we're going to do with the $1 million now. We're going to donate it, and when we donate the $1 million, we won't have to pay any taxes on it.
There you go.
All I have to do is get in line to be donated to.
Yeah.
Well, the simplest thing I can think of, and in terms of what we're doing, people have 100 different questions, and most of them are technical, and most of them I can't answer anyway. But the thing that I've found out over the years is it's just plain simple persistence. You got to set that goal. I don't care what it is, 25,000 or 25 million. Don't make any difference. You've got to set that goal, and then you've got to constantly be persistent every single day and work at reaching that goal.
Let me ask a question here, and it gets us back on track. You getting us back on track, and I hope that, because setting a goal is important. But in setting that goal, you have to set a goal that is not only realistic and achievable, but you have to set a goal that you personally believe that you personally can achieve. So let me throw out one question here, and you don't have to answer it if y'all don't want to, but if it is a good one to ponder and think about. Do you, say if you wanted to make that $1 million a year, do you personally believe you can make the $3,000 a day? Do you personally believe it's possible? And my next question is, do you have a plan to get there?
I can answer that. First of all, it's very simple. Do I believe I can make $1 million a year? Absolutely yes. Second question, do I have a plan? Absolutely yes, but a plan has to be divided in different sections. For example, I put in the chat and on Skype, I'm going to try to reach team leader by July the 4th, which is only a couple months away. The reason I want to reach team leader is because that puts you in a position where you're helping all your people, build their business and do all the things that are necessary to help them get started. It's like anything else. It kind of gives you a sense of status quo, so to speak. And in order to do that, I decided that if I were going to become a team leader, then my goal is to hit at least $50 income by July 4th. It doesn't have to come all from the one company in particular. It can come from various sources, but the goal is to hit $50 a month by July 4th, and if I do that, then my goal also is to become team leader. Now, by setting that goal, that forces me to do a few things that are necessary that I would not normally do. For example, if I'm going to become a team leader by July 4th, then I have to go in my back office. I have to go to my upline. I've got to get on the phone and say, okay, what is it that I need to do to become a team leader? Well, like in anything, like if you had a job, your sponsor or your upline, somebody's going to say, well, this is what you need to do. Well, I might say, well, I really don't like doing that. Well, if you want to be a team leader, you're going to have to do it. So then I'm also forced into the reality to realize that if I want to become a team leader, then there are a few things that I may not necessarily like doing, but I'm going to have to do. Now, there might be, and I like to break everything down in numbers. So if I have 10 things to do and 8 of them I like and 2 I don't, guess what? The 2 that I don't like are the ones I got to work on hardest, because the rest are easy to do. And too many times it's too easy for me to cop out and say, well, I could do that. That's easy. Off I go and I do it. But the 2 things I don't like to do, then that's going to take a little stress and a little work and a little patience, because I don't like to do them. I think one of the best examples I can think of is HTML. I have no clue how to do it. Don't know how to do it. Would rather not do it. But yet at the same time, if I'm going to become a team leader, I have to learn enough about HTML to get along, to get by. I don't have to become a genius in HTML, but I have to learn enough to be able to do what's necessary for me to do to run my team. And I think that is just so, so important. It's dedication. I think that's the next step. When you make a decision, like I'm doing right now, and I announce it, so to speak, to the world, even if there's only a few of us on the phone, I'm putting out there the vibrations that, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Now, whether I realize it or not, there are people out there that are going to hold me to it. Right, Mike?
Yep.
There are going to be people that are going to say, hey, he said he's going to do it. Let's see if he does it.
Yep.
What's that do? That puts you a little pressure, not a lot of pressure. I don't think it's that much pressure, but it puts a little pressure in the sense that I want that continuity. I want to have that ability to learn, and that takes the ability to make that decision that I'm going to work towards that goal. Because not only have I said it, but I've made it public, which means I'm going to be being watched to see whether I got the you-know-what to get there. And that's the way life is. That's the real world. It's like telling a girl that you're going to get her a diamond ring. Well, you can tell her you're going to get a diamond ring, but until she sees it on her finger, getting it don't mean a thing.
So let me ask you a couple of questions here that's in line with that.
Okay.
First of all, what makes you a team leader? Is someone, and using network marketing for emphasis, instances, if, or example, that's a better word. If someone in network marketing, if someone, in a level or two above you says, Robert, you're now team leader, and we want you to
Right.
start leading your team and do this and this and this and this, does that make you a team leader? Or
No, it does. No, it does
does
not.
Robert deciding, I am a leader, I am going to lead my team, and meaning what you have to do is put out the work ethic and example that the rest of the team can see and be inspired enough to follow you.
Right.
A leader doesn't follow, a leader leads. So, which actually makes you the team leader?
Let me share something with you that I got in an argument when I worked at Amazon.com, and my boss wanted me to move up, and I told him I had no desire to move up because I liked where I was at. I simply didn't want to move up. There was no reason to move up, and they kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And finally, I really, for lack of a better way to say it, I upset him. Because I said to my boss, right to her face, my boss was a woman, I said right to her face, I said, ma'am, I have no desire to be a boss. Because to me, a boss is like a Hitler. And so for that reason, I don't want to be a boss. I would never desire to be a boss. But a leader, I am. I can show you when I get on that truck and I start throwing them boxes and I start loading them boxes, I got people coming around helping me throw more boxes. And we get that truck loaded fast. And you know why? Because I'm out front throwing the most boxes. I had people tell me, said, man, you're 65 years old and you put some 21-year-old kids to shame. And I said, I understand that, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about my own personal worth ethic. And to me, to do the job means go do the job. So in multi-level marketing, to me, it's no different. If you want the job, do it. If you don't want the job, is that old cliche? Next, because my time, just like Mike time and all of us here, our time is valuable. And if I'm going to be the leader, then the people who see me lead are going to want to follow. But if they think that I'm out there just playing games, or I'm just trying to be bossy, or I'm just trying to run their lives, because that's not the point, then they're not going to follow me. But when they are able to look and see that you're doing it, you're giving the example, then they'll follow you. But if you don't give the example and you don't show them how to do it, in other words, if you don't know how to do it yourself, how can you possibly expect somebody else to do what you don't know how to do?
If you don't know how to do it, how do you find out how to do it?
Well, then you go to your upline. You find out how to
And what
do
if
it.
they don't know?
Well, eventually there comes the reality, sooner or later, is that, you ever felt alone in that box all by yourself?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the term think outside of the box? To me, thinking outside of the box is, okay, there's nobody in my box that wants to help me. So there's only one conclusion. I need to get out of the box.
Need to get out of the box.
By getting out of the
do some
box
studying.
means I have to do some study.
You need to.
I might have to read, and I can tell you quite frankly, I can read something 10 times. It don't mean, it just doesn't register. I can be shown once and I know how to do it. So it's like going to church. If I read something and I don't understand it, then I go to the guy up. And he says, well, yeah, I've read it, but I don't understand it. Well, then you're not doing me any good, so I go to the next one higher than him. Oh, yeah, I read it, but I don't understand it. Well, then you're not doing me any good either. But eventually, I have 150 people in the congregation. I run into somebody in the congregation, and I said, what do you think about that? And he said, oh, I understand that. That's easy. Oh, great. Explain it to me. That's thinking outside the box.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you have to go to somebody that's not part of the group that is willing to help. And sometimes, like in one particular company, a lot of what I learned over the years on how to run this particular company, I've learned from other companies. Had nothing to do with what I'm doing. But the knowledge I gained there is what helps me move my company along. Short and sweet. It's 6 o'clock. I'm not
All
saying
right, Robert. I haven't meant to put you on a spot tonight. I was really looking for the
I don't
answers
mind.
that you have brought out, because I feel like everybody listening to this call now will be able to hear and learn and benefit from that. And that's what my goal is, to help everybody learn and benefit. And you have brought out the points that I was fishing for. You've done a very good job. I appreciate everything you've done tonight to help us. I really wasn't trying to put you on the spot. Just I'm one that asks questions to draw things out of people.
Well, I can tell you this. Ever since I was 18 years old, when I was in the military, and unfortunately, this is I'm going to make it a short story. I did drink a lot, and I'd get on my soapbox. And in the 4 years that I was in the service, I had that nickname. It was, Soapbox Bob.
Yep.
Because if it was politics, or it was economics, or it was how to make money, and I was in the right mood, you got me on the soapbox. You weren't getting me off that soapbox. Come hell or high water.
Well, I appreciate you being on the soapbox tonight. I appreciate you playing along with my game here. It's not a game. It's truly life. It's truly important. But I just wanted to drag it out. I get on here and talk sometimes, and I'll talk forever. And
Yep.
I'm not sure. Yeah, my wife agrees with that. I'm not sure that people learn if it's just getting on here and hearing just me. So I like to drag out and get people to answer questions that will cause thought and cause think. And you have done a great job tonight, and I appreciate every bit of it.
Well, I thank you very much, Mike.
And we welcome you back.
Oh, I'll be back.
All righty. Does anybody else have anything they
Well,
want?
Unfortunately, I gotta go eat and run, and that's the name of that tune.
Then we wanna encourage you to go do just that. I know it's your dinner time. If anybody else has anything you want to say and everything, I'm gonna leave the mic open here for a little bit. But with that said, I'm gonna say good evening, Robert, and we appreciate what you've done for us tonight.
Yeah, I'll see you probably Tuesday night if nothing comes up to interfere with that.
Look forward to it.
All right. Good night, Mike and all.
Thank you. Good night, Robert.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. God bless
Good
you.
night, Sandy. We appreciate everything you do too, and we'll let you talk one night. Good evening. Have a great night. Have a great day.
Only if you want to hear about real estate. And I seriously
I'll
doubt
tell you
that.
what. I'll listen to anything you want because there are lessons to be learned in any of it. There are lessons to be learned. So we'll be glad to hear you talk about real estate one night. We'll see you dissect it and see what we can take to apply to any business.
Well, good night, everybody. God bless you.
Good night. Appreciate you being in here. David, if you're still with us, good night. I think I heard you drop off, though. Anyway, we'll look forward to hearing everybody again Tuesday night.
Good night.
You gonna go put the towels in there?
Yes, ma'am.